Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, and my friends, we got not the best news today. It does look like we are at the end of the line when it comes to Mortal Kombat 1. So why is that exactly? Well, you're looking at it on the screen right now. The definitive edition of Mortal Kombat 1 just got announced, and why is it definitive? Because you get everything. Everything that's ever been put out, as in everything that ever will be put out for Mortal Kombat 1. So no, more DLC, a Combat Pack 3, whatever you want to call it, another major expansion, that is not happening anymore. And well, this is something we've known for a while, I guess. But now it's official, but don't worry, hey, it's the best value. Best value, we like best value. But yeah, effectively, once again, end of the line for Mortal Kombat 1, which is a damn shame because it wasn't meant to be. It's how we ended up, but it wasn't meant to be. Mortal Kombat, well, and NetherRealm's games just in general, I guess, sort of infamous for being on the cycle. As in, game comes out, you get roughly 2 years of content, and then, okay, we're done. Next game comes out. And this game was promised to be the game that would break that cycle. The game that would get many and multiple years of support and content. NetherRealm Studios very much believed this at the time, because they didn't have a reason not to, I guess. And, you know, Ed Boon was confident enough to get on camera for it.
Well, just like we did with Mortal Kombat 11, we're going to release a second part with more story. You know, and we have a big surprise after that. We're going to work on the game for years to come. So we'll be releasing more story will be coming. So a lot of.
And besides those little clips, like Ed did so many interviews at the time around the launch of the game and the pre-launch of the game saying the same thing, that this is the game that's going to have years and years of support, not just the usual cycle it's always been. And we're not posting that as some sort of gotcha or whatever, just, you know, as a fact, because at the time, I'm sure they believed that very much. And I've said this, I don't even know how many times now over the years, but NRS's biggest problem is the fact that, unfortunately, they are not in control of their own destiny. They can say whatever they want, and they can definitely mean it at the time too. However, their parent company, Warner Brothers, if they change their mind, whatever they said no longer matters anymore. We covered it some months ago now, but there definitely was plans for more than what we have right now. But Warner Brothers changed their mind. The story goes they were not happy with the sales of Chaos Reigns, the expansion for Mortal Kombat 1, and thus, well, everything else that was to come after then just basically got canned. And the frustrating part is Mortal Kombat sales is sales any other game would kill for, like, to be frank. Like Ed Boon posted it not too long ago, but for the PlayStation charts, Mortal Kombat, you know, a year and a half-ish plus into the game's life, is still on the top charts for PlayStation Network. The game is incredibly popular, like actually. Like, in case it somehow needs to be said, it's friggin' Mortal Kombat, y'all. Like, maybe it's not doing as good in comparison to, say, Mortal Kombat 11. Mortal Kombat 11 is also the highest selling game in the franchise's history, so hard to compare against numbers like that. For the franchise, which is the highest selling fighting game of all video game history. But you know, what ain't on that list? You don't see no Street Fighter, you don't see no Tekken. So the game's doing great, just not by Warner Brothers standards. Which means if it's making a lot of money, but it's not making way too much money, well, not enough for us to continue our investment, I guess. Time to move on to the next product, which has assuredly been in development for some time, right? While they're working on the expansions and the DLC, they're working on the next main game, which is, we don't know for sure yet, but which is likely to be Injustice 3. It's already been confirmed earlier in the year that James Gunn's already met with NetherRealm Studios to talk about DC and all that. And why would the guy in charge of DC now talk to NetherRealm about DC? Well, unless New Injustice. Which makes some sense anyways. Like, it's already odd they did 2 Mortal Kombat games in a row, 3 Mortal Kombat games in a row. Well, I was about to say unless Warner Brothers is about to go bankrupt, but Warner Brothers always been about to go bankrupt for a good while, so who even knows? This is not exactly a company known for having a great sense of direction. I saw this earlier today and all I could do was laugh. So there will be a new game. Who knows for sure what it is? Maybe Summer Game Fest, maybe the Game Awards later this year. It'll get announced. It's coming and it'll launch at some point in the future. We'll cover it whenever it happens. That's for later, but for now, this is the end of Mortal Kombat 1 in terms of content anyways, that's meaningful. The Definitive Edition does launch with new skins, so it's not just everything together. There is some new stuff. There's the movie skins. And maybe not full new characters, full new story modes, but work does continue on Mortal Kombat 1. Like, literally today, they just put out a new balance patch. It's not a giant patch, but they put out a new balance patch. And considering Combo Breaker is, like, right around the corner, it's a patch of some consequence if you're attending Combo Breaker and planning to play the T1000, because, yo, he got nerfed. So it's not like there'll never be updates ever again for the game. I'm sure that's not the last patch ever. But it might be one of the last patches they'll have for the game. I do expect maybe a few more, but if they're not going to keep putting content out for the game, I don't expect many more big changes to come. So basically, several months ago when we made that one original video talking about Warner Brothers cutting support for Mortal Kombat 1 after the alleged lack of sales for Chaos Reigns, we're basically now here with the reality of it. We're kind of at the end of the life cycle for the game. If you're an NRS fan, we've been here before a lot of times. NRS games do not go out with a bang. For a lot of other fighting games, the game's only quote-unquote done when the new game comes out, right? Like Street Fighter 4 only went away because Street Fighter 5 came out. Street Fighter 5 went away because Street Fighter 6 came out. Street Fighter 6 will go away whatever point in the future because Street Fighter 7 will come out. Same thing with, say, Tekken. Normally, a big name fighting game only goes away when the new one's coming out. And assuredly, there is a new one coming out. Maybe it's Mortal Kombat 2, which is really weird to say. Like, I grew up in the arcades, right? Mortal Kombat 2 means something to me, and it doesn't mean a new modern gen fighting game. It means the old classic Mortal Kombat 2. Maybe it's Injustice 3. Who knows what it'll be, right? But at some point in the future, we don't get a graceful lead-in to it. We get our definitive edition for the game. We get maybe one or two more small patches for balance, and wait for the next Jeff Keighley event for a trailer, and see you next release, I guess. I know it's got to be frustrating for the NetherRealm team because, once again, they promised, years of support. And once again, I'm sure they meant it at the time, but they don't get to call the shots in the end, which is very frustrating. Like, to not be in charge of your own destiny. Here you are in charge of one of the most storied gaming franchises of all time and all history. And then some guy looks at the numbers for a DLC and is like, I don't like it. You know what? Cancel everything else he planned. And any promises he made, tough luck. You get clipped in a YouTube video to make yourself look bad.
Launched Mortal Kombat 1 that we were going to be doing for years of content. So this is year 2, right? For years of content. For years of content. For years of content.
Shoutouts to Murdoink, by the way. He does love Mortal Kombat, although he loves too much, so it leads him to be critical sometimes. But here we are again, end of the road, another NRS game kind of unceremoniously done with, right? If you never got the game, the best value, right? Best value, we love best value. There's a lot of content here in one package. There's a lot of stuff. The game's still pretty cool if you never tried it out. But just like MK11, just like Injustice 2, just like MKX, just like MK9, we just kind of hit a point, a hard stop point, and then we just sort of wait for the next game. What'll the next game be? We don't know. If it is another Mortal Kombat, I do feel like at this point, we're probably going to go back to MKX in terms of gameplay, if anything. People, especially over the course of MK1, sort of bemoan the days of the wild and crazy MK. So if it is MK again, I feel that's how we're going to go. But if it is Injustice, well, Injustice can kind of be anything. People throw a lot of slings and arrows at Injustice. One thing I'll give Injustice more than like any other fighting game, they are not scared to innovate. Like, look at Grundy. Grundy's one of the coolest characters ever made in all of fighting game history. And they make weird characters that other games won't make in Injustice. So whatever it is, I'm sure it'll be crazy at a minimum. But that all said, my friends, that's the news for the day. We're at the end of the line from Mortal Kombat 1, and our definitive edition is out, thus signaling there is no more coming other than maybe a few small patches. And it's a bit of a bummer, and it's always kind of a bummer to me as an NRS fan and Mortal Kombat fan, lifelong Mortal Kombat fan at that. I never like to see it happen. I always wish the games could go out with a bit more of a bang, or at least break the 2-year curse. This was supposed to be that game to break that curse, to have many years of support until, well, it wasn't anymore, and that just sucks. That said, we're at the end of the video. So, thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Mortal Kombat.